Okay. Hi guys, my name is Chloe Hehir and I am from Telluride High School and I am a senior this year. Um, Over the summer I went to the University of Santa Barbara, California, and I worked at a program called REEF. That stands for the Research Experience and Education Facility, and I studied marine biology. So I studied a whole bunch of animals at the reef, such as we studied sea stars. We had a ginormous lobster. His name was Boris. He was over 80 years old, which is insane. So he was humongous. We had California Monterey eels. Our Monterey eel was kind of stupid, so we could pet him. Most ones you can't pet because they will bite your arm and you will bleed out. But ours was dumb. So then we had some horn sharks and just a whole bunch of creatures, whole bunch of things. Yep, go. I did a whole bunch at the reef, all the way from meeting with the director of the reef and doing technical things like starting grants and things, to learning all about the flow. So every day we'd walk in, we would check the flow of all the tanks that I looked at in the reef, which is kind of the input and output of the water. Then we would take census of all the animals in our reef, and we would look at the water quality to make sure that it was not too contaminated by anything, because the water from the ocean flowed straight into the tanks at the reef. I would siphon tanks, which is kind of just big vacuum of the food and waste that animals put out. We fed a lot of animals. I did Zoom calls with the upcoming freshman class at UCSB, where I toured them around the entire reef, which was really cool, and I learned a lot of facts about animals that way. We did Girl Scouts tours. I shucked mussels for testing, kind of what August did. We sent them off to a different lab, and they tested them to make sure the water quality of the ocean in Santa Barbara was good. I cleaned a lot, and I actually did some social media creations, and I learned a lot with undergraduates at UCSB and did a lot of clinics with them. Here's me cleaning this tank. Up there is the white abalone tanks. Whoa. White abalone are technically reproductively extinct in the natural environment. So we had tanks. We were doing an experiment to see how we could get them to repopulate in the ocean. And at one point the chillers broke, which was kind of an issue because if the water is above 16 degrees, then there's bacteria in the water that can kill the abalone. So we had to work hard to fix those. Over there you can see Boris's last molt, which is normal lobster, about 16-year-old, is farthest to the left, so he's humongous. Feeding the animals, and yeah, basically. Some surprises that I found at the reef is that I actually like taking care of life. Found out I don't really like kelp because it's really slimy, and I did not approve of that. Then in the real world, Santa Barbara is very connected community, from the oceans to the harbor to the watershed. And so we actually took a field trip with a whole bunch of undergraduates and looked around all of Santa Barbara and see how what we were doing in the reef was connected to the whole community, and how the water that we were testing affects everything, which is really cool. In my free time, I went surfing a lot, because about 100 feet away from the reef there is an ocean that has surfing. So I made friends with the surf instructor and went surfing. I biked 14 miles a day to the reef and back. I went downtown a lot. I got a whole bunch of food. I read a lot, and I went running. Yeah. Go. Okay, so some advice that I have for future pinheads is that you should bring a notebook and write everything down in, just it's cool to look back on, and also that way you remember what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to be learning. Listen to everything and pay attention to what people tell you, so you don't annoy them if you have to ask them to repeat something. Adapt to everything that people throw at you, because you will likely be out of your comfort zone, and that's okay. Just try your best to adapt. And then finally, bring all your skills. For example, I did not think I would have any video creation, and I ended up making a few videos for Reef's Instagram, which I thought was really cool, something I didn't think I was going to do. Thank you to Sarah, my host family, Scott, all the reefers, and Pinhead behind the scenes.